So among other aircraft, apart from the premium aircraft that I've been doing a video for, while grinding for the F-14, I look at the other factions and go, maybe I should play the other factions aircraft as well, because, you know, I do play ground battles and every now and then I would just take out the close air support aircraft. And unfortunately for most of these nations, the support aircraft is only up to around battle rating 3.0, 3.3. Anytime that is higher than that is because it's a premium aircraft that I got for free, that I'll probably never use, or a premium aircraft that I got because I bought a bundle. But anyway, I granted the other factions aviation line, and I did come across several different aircraft that you can actually play yourself. And this is one of them. And this plane is something I would call a bit of a challenge aircraft. This is the French MB-157 fighter. And I would describe this thing in a nutshell as a subpar turn fighter that has a very good energy retention. And yeah, I say turn fighter because it's below 20 seconds. Like sure, if you're going up against like a P-51, a BF-109 or a Falcon 190 or a Yak fighter or a Lavochkin fighter, you can definitely outmaneuver those guys just by turning. However, remember that I call this thing a subpar turn fighter because if you are dealing with a A6M, a Spitfire or an Italian G55 or Folgore fighter, you are definitely not winning that fight. Let me be clear with you. But one thing you can definitely win against them is your top speed. You see, like I mentioned about turn fighters in the last video, one thing that turn fighters have in common is that they don't really like to retain their energy too well, especially turning. So by the time they're finished turn fighting like your teammate or yourself or whatever, they're usually stuck at like low altitude with like 250 to 300 kilometers an hour, which is unfortunately a death sentence when you're that low. But that's not an issue with the MB-157, because as you can see, you can go up to 712 kilometers an hour. I'm pretty sure you can go faster than that. Not that you want to anyway, I'll explain in a second. And you can actually retain this energy pretty damn well if you miss your shot with a Spitfire or an A6M. And if you find yourself in the altitude situation, you can just speed away from them. And if you fly level like maybe 0 to 5 degrees climb, you can retain energy or even build up speed to around 490 to 500 kilometers an hour. That's how ridiculous this thing is in terms of speed. So if you're in a fight where turn fighting is really not your style, you can make up for it with speed. And vice versa if you're in a fight against a plane that isn't known for turning. So before I continue on, what do I mean by you don't want to go too fast in this thing? When you're actually diving down on the enemy or trying to make use of your speed to catch up with the enemy and turn fight them, something to keep in mind is that when you're going around 500, 550 kilometers an hour and above, your this rudder tends to lock up a little bit. So that is something you need to keep in mind, especially when you're trying to correct your angle of approach when you're dealing with an enemy plane. So why exactly is this a challenge? You see, the challenge isn't really the flight's performance on this thing, but rather the armaments. You have two 20mm Hispano 404 autocannons, one in each wing. And one of the reasons why this thing is a bit of a challenge is that these 20mm, they're a little bit of a hit and miss. Like sure, we'll be using the universal belt, high explosive incendiary, semi-armor piercing incendiary, armor piercing shell, and then tracer shell. It sounds neat, but the thing is, half the time you shoot this at the enemy, like maybe 1 or 2 rounds, you're blowing the guy's wing off completely or turning the guy into Inferno. And the other half the time, it just sparks off the enemy plane or just make holes in everybody's left wing. And do nothing after that. And it's really frustrating when you're trying to get kills in this thing where, in the event where everybody is stealing everybody's kills. And then this part that makes this thing even more frustrating, and also the next part of the challenge, you can probably see on the top left corner. So yes, you only have 60 rounds in these 20mm. And to make things worse, you fire at 700 rounds per minute. So that means you need to have very good trigger discipline in order to produce results with this thing. Like single tapping the gun or extreme shot bursting the gun, which can be really difficult because 700 rounds per minute, like your extreme shot burst or even single tapping, you might actually end up burning like 5 rounds or 10 rounds without even realizing it. So yeah, these 20mm, I mean, they work half the time, but the fact that sometimes they don't just makes me pull out my hair sometimes. But if you manage to get a good lead on the enemy as well as maintaining a very good trigger discipline, you'll be surprised at how many planes you can actually down with this thing. And now, one last thing to note, I am not Delphin, okay? So don't expect me to get 5 kills with this thing before landing, alright? I'm just playing this thing for a challenge. Is that an E20?
Yeah, he's getting closer to victory.
Leave, P-47, leave! Ah, shit. Alright, I need you to stop bombing. that's the closer I feel. Yes, I do see you taking off. I don't think you can reach this altitude in time.
We need to put more pressure on the enemy. They're winning.
Undetected. Stealth perfected. No, where's that bomber? The AI is gonna... The AI is gonna finish the match. Can you guys not? Please don't tell me he just landed. After all this time.
The enemy is winning. We must counterattack. Attention to the designated grid square.
Yeah, the guys won the match. God damn it. I hate it when that happens, man.
We've lost.
Wanna run that by me again? I was about to turn back and re-engage him. I do not like getting pilot snipes. Come on. 20 mils. No, it's not a good time to fail me. Oh, for fuck's sake.
We must counterattack. Attacking!
Launching an attack.
Be fast. The enemy will win.
I hear him.
Somebody attack him. Attacking.
Oh man, really game? Come on. That's four, okay? That's four.